Ready to go?
Greetings and salutations, my friend Guillermo,
I'm hiding.
who is masked, Tony, who is at least 6 feet away, and myself, who doesn't like to talk with the mask on, and that's why I have a big office and I can stay 6 feet away. But we want you to know we believe in masks. We wear masks, and we want you to wear masks to take care of yourself.
And others.
Teddy Tarr, one of your neighborhood psychologists. So, let's take our masks off. I got mine off.
Thank you.
Already. Here, I'll show you. It works. It's not just a collar.
But we have to, unfortunately, we have to.
Yeah. So, I made a big mistake. I asked Guillermo if there was any topic he would like me to set up, cover for the next video. And he said, why not make up a bunch of questions and answers? I thought that would be easy. Of course it's not easy. Of course not, because for 20 minutes or 25 minutes to pick out what kinds of things people go to therapy for. And then I thought to myself, why can't I ask the questions and let him answer? And what did he say?
Wrong idea. You don't want me to answer the questions.
So I'm back to making up the questions and the answers.
Definitely not me.
All right. So what was I thinking? So I took a poem by Orion Mountain Dreamer, The Invitation, and I have that online for you. That's on my website. And I decided to take some inspiration, some of the various topics from that poem. He was, by the way, he was a Native American elder, and I just love this poem. This is my favorite poem. So Guillermo, would you like to stumble along and read it without your glasses?
I am going to try.
Okay.
So I forgot my glasses, but I'll do my best. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for dreams, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are you squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear or further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine, or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let ecstasy fill the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, or to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. I want to know if you can be faithful and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty, even if it's not pretty every day. If you can, source your life from God's presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of a lake and shout to the silver moon, yes. It doesn't interest me where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary, bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done for the children. It doesn't interest me who you are, how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside. When all else fails away, I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments.
I love that poem. Thank you. You did a great job on it. So, I think we need to weigh other people's advice. When we ask somebody something, we want to go to the person who we think has the kind of advice that would match our value system. Do you want to read this list? This is pretty much a summation of the poem, the various things that it's looking at.
Again, we have to be careful who we seek advice of.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah, we do.
First of all, a harsh longing. Risk looking like a fool for love, for dreams, for the adventure of being alive. Have you touched the center of your own sorrow? Have you been opened by life's betrayals or shriveled and closed? Fear of further pain. Sit with mind your own, not to hide, fade, or fix. Be with joy, mine or yours. Dance with wilderness, ecstasy. Experience highs. Not interested if the story is true. Can you disappoint someone to be true to yourself? Bear accusation of betrayal, not betray your own soul? Be faithful, be trustworthy, see beauty, source your life from God's presence. Live and failure, yours and mine. Stand on the edge of a lake and shout to the silver moon, not into where you live, not how much money you have. Can you arise after and fill the children? Not into who you are, how can you came to be here? Would you stand in the center of the fire with me? I don't care whom you have studied with. I graduated from small school. You did? I did too, by the way.
Did you graduate from
I
school?
graduated from a very small school in Central Florida. Population of the school at that time was 1,200 kids.
Okay.
So I went there for 4 years. I played basketball with a scholarship, and it was a very good experience. It was the first time I had left Puerto Rico and left my parents and my family, and I was all alone in a place that in the middle of nowhere. It was a very good experience in a small school, but it was a kind of a Catholic school at the time. It was run by the Benedicts, and it was very interesting, and I had a lot of good experience from that.
I have to share with you, I didn't know that he graduated from a Puerto Rican school. And I'm going to share with you, I did my graduate work. I spent 7 years in a Puerto Rican import school. The school was brought in from Puerto Rico, and I loved it. But I have taken a hit on several occasions. And one time, someone came in, an attorney came in here, and I realized he wasn't happy I wasn't from Cornell. He would have liked the client to have found another therapist. However, it turned out fine. At some point, I think he changed his mind. But the school I went to, it was a Puerto Rican import. It's one of the few schools in the United States that was from another country and was APA approved. It was American Psychological. You can't sit with the test here in Florida. No, they will take your record apart and they'll make you go to do remedial work. So one thing I do know, we had a great sense of humor there. I didn't learn any Spanish whatsoever. I hope some of my friends learned English.
Well, I went to that school, and I never knew that I was the only Spanish-speaking person at that time in that school. So it was kind of interesting too.
Well, there you go. So I knew if we kept working here, we'd find something in common. Okay, so I'm not invited. You want to go ahead and read this?
You want me to read this?
Yeah, I do.
I'm not invited. I'm interested in knowing what you do for a living. Could you share what you will bring to the table in this relationship? I would like someone young, so I can feel young again. Please, not too many outside interests or relatives. Not too religious, not too much so I can feel you. I would be foolish for you to compete with someone like me. I'm wiser, more successful. I know what is best for you. Give me a little history. I don't need someone needy in my life. I need you to clear your dreams, your desires, your calendar, make room for yourself. You have a small closet in the basement. Celebrate my accomplishments. Understand my late night dinners. Always be there. Take care of my feelings and needs. Now, I'm going to take care of you. I will be your everything. Never make me feel anything less than what I train you to be. Never tell anyone anything about our life. You don't need your apartment. I will be able to track you at all times. You must give up your job, career, dreams, motivation. Don't talk about how smart you are, who you know, what you want to do for yourself. You're an extension of me. I will be your all. Without me, you're nothing.
By the way, answer all my phone calls immediately. Don't make any changes. Don't get too close to your family. I don't want to know that you're talking to your mother, father, sister, or brother every single day. So one of the things you want to know is when you go online to do any dating or you choose a new friend, make sure that you don't get entrapped with your ideas of who they are and not who they are. Always pay attention. in general, people are not liars in the beginning. They usually tell you what you want to hear. It's not exactly lying. Also, don't leave a job, no matter what anyone says when you complain about it, unless you have another one. My mother would have told me that one.
I think everybody will tell you that.
Yes.
Don't leave something unless you have something else in
To
hand.
go to, right? Okay.
Not interested in the usual trappings of society. A fancy job, your birth sign, have you shriveled up in a crisis? The walking wounded, in being a perfect person, impressing me with your stories, how much money you have, where you live, your age, who you are, an impressive biography, who you have studied with.
That's not what I need from you. You know, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not talking about dating. I'm talking about friendships. One up, you know, impressive. Make sure that in the very beginning, you're very honest with yourself and you realize what you have, what kind of relationship you have. So, let's read what I am looking for. That was what I'm not looking for.
Okay, so now we read what I'm looking for. What do you ache for? Your passion? Do you dream of meeting a person who makes you feel alive? Your heart's longing? Will you risk looking like a fool for love, for dreams, to feel alive? I want to know if you have a true self who has dealt with sorrow, betrayal, and is emotionally available. Are you willing to invest again in life? Are you safe and not afraid of life? Can you handle the full range of human emotions? Joy, feel uninhibited, ecstasy, and of the moment without fear.
Okay, so let's get to some of the questions. So you want to know what I see in here. All right.
Why? The question is, why do we read self-help material? Why we watch talk shows, seek counseling? Why all this? And that's the question that I have for you today.
Oh, I can answer that in 2 minutes. I'll never forget somebody said to me, I need you, I need you, I need you. Can you have lunch with me and teach me all you know about bereavement? Lunch, just lunch. Lunch for about 1,000 years maybe. You have to do the walk before you do the talk. Okay, the healthy real self. It provides for the experience of emotions, good, bad, pleasant, unpleasant. So the real self feels. A lot of times people think you shouldn't feel. They try and stop you from feeling. But something happens to you. One of the reasons we seek therapy is because we find real quickly that if we're not serving people the way they have always had us, they don't like it when we're not happy. It's not that they don't want us to suffer. They don't want us not to be there for them. So one of the things is emotions, trying to handle those emotions, especially the negative ones. The real self doesn't erect barriers or hide. It faces itself, its thoughts, its feelings, and operates out of its value system. It expects appropriate entitlements. The real self knows that it's worth something and that everybody else is worth something. And so it expects that if it does the right thing, it's going to have rewards.
Some rewards.
Yeah. You can cut in anytime you want. I can always turn one of these questions over to you if you don't say anything
good.
at all.
I think you're the expert.
Okay. Not exactly. The expert is the client. Okay. Capacity for self-activation. The real self can activate, can make changes. Remember one of the videos I talked about construct a future. Not only can think about a future, but can actually construct a future and make changes for that future. Acknowledgement of self-esteem recognizes these self-structures, self-esteem, self-soothing, self-talk, self-structures, of all the self-structures, and there are a lot of them. I could go through a whole list of them for you.
How about self-confidence?
Self-confidence is really important, to feel good enough about yourself, and that's different from self-esteem. And most people have other esteem. They have to be recognized by others to feel good about themselves. Self-esteem is from the self internally.
Because I find that self-confidence is also very important for the person to have self-confidence in
Absolutely.
themselves.
And I'm sure when people start a job, you always expect them to be a little nervous.
Right.
Or anxious during the interview. The ability to soothe painful feelings is real important, that you can talk to yourself and soothe yourself, or you know where to go. And a lot of times people come into therapy in order for help. To have the tools and the skills to manage so far what I've this list. To make and stick to a commitment. That's important. If you say you're going to be somewhere and you're going to be on time, you expect somebody not to cancel 5 minutes beforehand.
Don't you feel that part of therapy is because we want the counselor or the therapist to provide the tools that we need to fight what we are coming to seek help for?
In actuality, we don't want to learn anything from the therapist. We want the therapist to do the work for us. I'll never forget, I saw somebody who had HIV and later died, and his last request to me was, well, there were two. One, make sure we don't have those little sandwiches at the funeral. I hate them. And the second one was that I would do the eulogy. And when I got to the church, it happened to be St. Stephen's in the Grove. I don't know how many people came up to me and said, you know, he was very disappointed in you, that you were never his friend. Well, no, I wasn't his friend, but I saw him every night at Baptist Hospital for months when he was dying. But people have expectations, and all I could say, I couldn't say anything about the relationship. I had confidentiality other than the eulogy, and all I could say was, it must have been hard for him. So, our expectations when we come to therapy can be, the therapist will take out all the pain, all the suffering, all the sorrow. No, the therapist is going to open you up with a knife and do a horizontal, may not tell you that, but over a period of time, will carve teensy, little by little, does not want to disrupt the ego, so isn't going to do it fast. But little by little, it's going to help you uncover some of the things. And what should you be talking about? The list that you tell the therapist you don't want to talk about. It's always the list. Am I right, Tony? Tony's not going to say anything. He's afraid I might drag him into therapy. Okay, the ability to soothe the feelings, the ability to make and stick to commitments, creativity, allowing that real self to emerge. There are lots of ways we can help ourselves. Music, art, drawings, writing a journal, various things that we can do. Intimacy, to be able to express honestly the self, to know the self. The ability to be alone. Continuity of the self, a core self persists through time and through space. Okay, so let's go on to the questions.
Okay. I was the one that gave you the idea of this.
I know. And this was hard for me to put together, believe it or not.
What is the heart's longing? What if you cannot have your dream?
Okay, what if you find a dream and it bursts, or somebody tramples on it, or it wasn't what you thought? We dream big, and when our dream gets shattered for any reason, so I decide I'm going to enlist in the service and they don't take me. I decide I'm going to go to graduate school and I don't get in because, you know, there were 500 other kids who had better grades or more social service or whatever it was. Or my family, I do get in and my family can't afford to send me. They now find out it's $58,000 a year. They don't have $58,000 a year. And even if I get that $10,000 scholarship, that might not be enough. So a hit or a smash dream is a huge loss, and we have to work through it as a loss. That's important to do. Identify whatever the meaning was, why you wanted it. How long have you had that dream? You might have had that dream since childhood. I remember I wanted to be a doctor when I was young, and everybody used to laugh because I hated the sight of blood. And they bring that up all the time. I found an area where I didn't have to see blood. Not much. Not much blood anyway. Each area you have to address and let go of. And letting go. Melanie Beattie's book, The Language of Letting Go. It's an older book. She also wrote Codependency No More. She's an addiction specialist, but I like her book, The Language of Letting Go. And I would suggest that. It's a teensy-weensy page to read at a time. And you don't have to read it in the order of like a journal would be on a day, on a categorical basis, or on a basis of today you read it because it's this date, tomorrow you read it because this date. You don't have to do either, just open it up and read it. We have more than one dream. We can share our dream. We can decide to keep our dream private. What was your dream? Do you remember as a kid? Did you have a dream of being somebody or something?
My dream at the time when I was young was to be a professional basketball player. But again, when you dream, and reality is two different things. So I did play through high school, I did play through college, I did play semi-pro in Puerto Rico, and after that I went to work because I thought that was more important than continuing that dream. So I think when you dream, you also have to have options. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket.
And some practicality.
So practicality.
Or maybe something to go along with the dream so you can eat while you're dreaming.
Exactly. And I always tell the people that come to see me, you know, about work and things like that, is so you can dream and you can have your ideal job, but try to have other ideas so you can live from those ideas until you see if you can get your dream come true.
Okay, so let's go on with,
So here's my herd, right?
yeah, this is your herd.
These are the questions that I would like to ask you. It had to do with panic, rage, empty, anger, cheated, helplessness, envy, and depression. But I will ask those after you have a minute to
My
think about those.
disclaimer, okay, this isn't a medical advice. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm giving practical, pragmatic ideas today. That's what we're talking about today. Because advice, if I was giving advice and as a therapist, I wouldn't be sitting here making a video while you were sitting in the room. I'd be letting you do most of the talking, and maybe then I would just add to it. I'd co-journey with you. I would not take it over. So I'm only going to give you some ideas because Guillermo twisted my arm. He made me do this. So it's not psychological advice. It's more pragmatic, practical ways, and practical ways to know perhaps when to go in and get help.
Which I think is important.
Yeah.
I think you never should feel that you're alone, that there's somebody out there that you can seek advice of that will help you get through your moments of the things that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Let's start with panic.
Okay. Overwhelming anxiety. And a panic can occur for any reason, for no reason, and the first time. I'm glad I had a panic one time. I was in a movie. I can remember the movie. And I was seated like 3 or 4 rows from the stage where the movie was. I came in late. And let me tell you, all of a sudden I felt this horrendous feeling over me. It was heat coming in, terrified, like I couldn't get out. Well, actually the doors were right there. But when you have that kind of a feeling, it's very hard to get rid of it. I find that first of all, it tends to escalate. So you have to catch it down in here. So the best thing I have found, at least over the years, if right away you can put your music on, sometimes that'll help. If right away you can go in and put your face in a basin of cold ice water, sometimes that'll help. It's hard to talk yourself out of it because the body likes to go with the anxiety and then discharge it. So I would suggest seeking professional help, especially if that's if it's happening in the car, for instance. You can go on medications to help.
Okay. The second one, what about rage?
Rage is anger that's been probably not addressed and stored from childhood. A lot of people go into rages. You'll find people even in stores go into rages when you say something. That's not what's happening with you, it's what's happening from childhood that they brought forward. It's very destructive to yourself and others. It's not the anger that's destructive, it's how we manage it. I was taught anger fed goes away, anger starved another day. That if you don't address the anger and you kept letting anger pile up, like you don't say anything, you're like a volcano. One day you just explode. So it's important to seek professional help if you need it. There's a lot of self-help out there. And I suggest keeping a journal. Watching the TV more closely, what you're watching. Too much news, cut back. Watch though, I can't watch any horror programs.
I hate horror movies.
Do you?
I hate him. I don't like him.
I have enough horror in here sometimes.
I'd rather see an
work.
action movie or a comedy movie anytime before I see a horror movie.
All right, I can't watch anything with animals dying, which takes out all the Discovery channels. All right.
The other one, how about when you have an empty feeling or emptiness?
Emptiness is a really common thing today. Perhaps not having a social world, a social group. Maybe you've had a depression, and then you're empty because you haven't felt like doing anything, and all of a sudden you realize you don't have anything to do. So one of the things, very important, is to seek some professional help if you're empty on that. If you're empty because something has happened, an event, you can see if you can do some self-help books and find out, like a divorce or something. And sometimes you need to tell yourself you're going to get better. You need to quiet your own spirit and allow yourself to process it. What's going on here? I need to know. If you're going to go to a therapist, make notes. Take them into the therapist. If you've gone to other therapists, make notes of why it didn't work. I know I had somebody brought their 2 kids into me and said, we were with the therapist 2 years, never remembered the kids' names. Good.
So that empty feeling is important to address.
Absolutely. And it can persist over time. But most of the time, anxiety is when we take on so much and the whole world seems to be closing in. Depression, we've cut out the whole world. A true depression, you can't do anything. Most of us refer to a depression when we have sadness or we're unhappy. And that's not necessarily a depression. A depression is a complete shutdown and where you can't hardly move at all. If you were talking about the Bible of the mental health industry, depression. Okay.
Okay. How about anger? How do we address anger?
It's normal to feel angry. Anger tells us something's wrong. We need to do something to fix it. What do we need to do? Again, write things down. I think it's much better. Don't say anything. Give yourself time. Here's what happened, the stimulus. Thought, response. I have at times written a whole letter thinking I was going to give it to somebody and didn't. Why? Because I used my head and I did not do that. Start thinking about how much of this is about my past, how much of this is about what's going on, how much of this is about expectations from someone who can't give it. So it's very important to know the person if you're angry with somebody and to look at, is it really them or did I just have a bad day myself? I have to be able to analyze it. I don't believe in writing anything and giving it to anybody online or any other way, not in text messages unless you're absolutely sure that 10 years from now you're not going to want to see that again. Things in print tend to recycle.
Never put anything in writing that you don't want to come back to haunt you.
There you go.
One thing about that though, don't we have to be very careful that when we make decisions, we're not emotionally making decisions out of anger, frustrations?
Oh, so hard. I think especially if you've had a bereavement or a loss and then you go to work and the boss doesn't seem to be interested. Nobody seems to care that you've just suffered. And you come into me and you say, I'm going to quit. And I say, why are you quitting? Well, I have to go back to work. I have to work. I don't have any money, but I can't stand the fact that nobody cared. And I remind people, that's not the caring farm. That's the farm where you walk in and you put their hat on and you do their job and then you go home and then you find people who care. And we can't look to our vocational area. It's rare that somebody would care about us. Once in a while you do have people that care. You have a boss that's wonderful. They'll give you time. But at some point you have to know you're there to make them money. If you weren't, they wouldn't have wouldn't have a business.
Okay. How about cheated?
Okay. First, anger can be turned inward towards depression. I want to let you know. I don't always believe that's the case, but depression can be a form of anger that's turned inward. That I don't say anything and I keep building the anger up until I get very, very sad. That can happen. Lots of times I'll say to somebody, when did this start? 25 years ago. You've been angry for 25 years over something that happened? Yeah. Okay, do you think maybe it's time to get out? Leave your whip here. Let's talk about it. Let's let it go. Bring it here. Leave it here. When you come back in, you can pick it back up. Anger stored. It's like a volcano. Okay, cheated out of life. It's not so much cheating. It's about cheated out of life. A lot of people feel like they did not get what everybody else has, and they want to remind me, nobody else had a loss. Nobody else has lost their job. Everybody else seems fine. I'm the only one.
Is that similar to having like envy or jealousy of other things other people have? And
it partners with it.
Because I see that a lot of people's frustrations are things that they can't control, but they envy other people or jealous of other people. But what that does for their life?
Good question. I have a big office, but I'm in the industrial area. I'm not in the towers. I don't have leather furniture. Okay. How do we accept where we are,
Where we
who
are.
we are, who we are, where we are? One of the things is meaning. If we've had losses, we need to have meaning in our lives.
Because I think comparing yourself to others is not a good idea.
I think it works in the negative most of the time. Okay,
Okay, so my next question, how do you handle helplessness?
helplessness, haplessness, and hopelessness all fly together. They're very good friends. And once you start a little bit of one, you usually get a lot of the
Next to
others.
the other one.
Yeah, so one of the things, that, again, get a hold of some self-help materials. Not everybody can go to somebody today. Not everybody has insurance paying for it. Not everybody can even can walk in a room. You know, a lot of things are on TV. You know, a telemarket, whatever it is.
Telecommunication.
Whatever it is.
Technology.
Okay. What we're going to do next time, we're going to do bereavement, totally bereavement. But I would like to close with this. I'd like you to read this.
But wait, I have one more question.
Okay.
We touched on the envy.
Yeah.
You want to say anything else about the envy?
No.
How about depression? Total depression. You want to say anything about that?
Only that a true depression shuts you down completely. Most people don't have depression, they have sadness. They might have a day. By the way, don't let somebody else tell you you're bipolar. I hear this all the time. Call Teddy. Did you take your medication? I mean, this is, don't, you know what I tell them when they come in here? You know why you're taking medication, you're seeing me? It's because of that person. If you weren't married to that person, you wouldn't be in here. I want you to go back and tell them that. Okay. In other words, instead of being supportive, what happened? They're not supportive. They're actually picking on you and making fun of your mental health issue. And by the way, kids, siblings will call the other one crazy. And I always remind the other one, you know, self-righteousness is a big sin. Okay, As Early Travelers. I want you to read the As Early Travelers. And
Which
we'll
one's
end
that?
here.
The time passing means nothing to loss.
We're going to do that with bereavement. Here we go.
Okay.
And we'll end here.
Oh, you want me to read this without my glasses?
You can just read the first page.
Okay. As early travelers, we travelers in symbiosis. We struggle to go, to stay, to go. We spend a whole lifetime struggling with anxiety, trying to balance autonomy and dependency.
Yeah.
We edit our inner world. We control what is shared. When we are afraid to divulge our true feelings and thoughts, we use denial, withdrawal, repression, suppression, fantasy, and regression in a loss.
Yeah. Okay, I want to show you something. Just imagine there are 200 elevators in this room. And some of the people walking into their elevator never, ever would admit to ever having a negative thought or feeling. Everything's wonderful. Okay, joyful on the outside. Doesn't mean joyful on the inside. Someone else would say, oh, woe is me. Nothing ever good happens to me. That doesn't mean they don't have good days. Every single elevator has different people, different thoughts, different beliefs, different cultures. You can't really compare. You can't compare gains or losses with anyone else. And I'm going to leave you with that today. Don't compare with anyone. Be yourself. If you want to do a makeover, make it over on yourself. Now, don't waste your time on someone else. Make yourself over.
Great suggestion. And we're going to leave this develop of self-hopelessness.
We're going to do the rest. We'll start with the rest next time.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
A 6. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yay, second place. Pick any card. I think I like the yellow ones. I like the yellow ones. Okay. It says, tell about a competition in which you participated.
Well, it was at school, which was my reading test. That was like a competition.
Yeah.
Because it was so difficult that the questions were, some of them were easy, some of them were not easy.
Yeah. And who was it, like, who finished first, who finished second?
Well, I controlized in my brain, so I did like conjurize what was in the story, what happened, and I think I got all the answers right.
Mhm.
So I finished first,
Okay.
and that's it.
That's it?
Yes, awesome.
Okay. Any other competitions, like a sporting competition?
I don't usually.
Game competition?
Oh well, the game competition there was a game competition.
What was it?
It was like try to lure Piggy to like the troll center.
Oh, it was a video game.
Yeah.
And you were against other players?
No. There was one Piggy and 5 players,
Oh, okay.
which is all of us in the game, and then the bot was chasing after us, but we all split up. I got the gun, got some ammo, and I shot Piggy. And then when we got the escape open, I was thinking, how about I mess with Piggy's brain? I lure Clowny to the escape, and then I escape, and then Clowny probably got some rats. So yeah.
It did?
Okay, ready, done.
Robert, come on. 6. Come on, you beat this. Oh, so close. I still got one more.
Describe a way your exercise pattern has changed throughout your life.
Oh my God, how has it changed? Because now you have muscles now. So what did you do different? For this, go to the gun show. No?
There were some masters with me. That
I work out
is
every
true.
day.
When do you have time to work out every day?
Whenever I water the garden.
When you go outside, water the garden, you work out outside in the backyard? Yeah? You doing good? It's good. Press. 1, 2, 3. Alright. What is one of the ways your father and grandfather are alike?
You already did.
Oh, that's great. That's good. I don't know anything about either of them, so. What'd you get?
What activities besides eating went on at the kitchen table in the home in which you grew up? Monopoly.
We played other games besides Monopoly.
What's that activity?
Well, we played Scrabble too, remember?
You just need to.
Good.
Uno, dos, million. I'm gonna do alternative. Gently try on another player's glasses.
Try on Harry's glasses.
No.
Let's pick another card that's more
That's-
health safety.
That's not a good
That's
idea.
not good for your
That's not
eyes.
a good idea.
Oh man. Make a paper airplane and fly it. Alright.
Are you kidding me?
Got it.
That's the hardest thing.
It is. Good thing I know how to make a paper airplane. I think. Ooh, but does she? Okay. I like planes. Do you guys like planes?
I like toy planes, but I don't like real life planes.
You've never been on a real life plane though, right?
Yeah, but I think it's dangerous because it could explode, and then it won't like it.
I don't think they would explode, baby. A lot of people ride planes all the time. Even me and Daddy rode on a plane a couple of times. Daddy more than Mommy. Daddy actually took Mommy on her first plane ride ever when we went to Chicago.
Oh.
So we had a nice, safe flight. We rode on 4 different planes and none of them exploded. And we got to Chicago and we flew back to, I think we stopped off in North Carolina for a layover, but other than that it was.
Okay, let's try.
Alright. Here's an interesting fact you probably didn't know about me. When I was in high school, I wanted to go to George T. Baker and learn maintenance on airplanes. But there was too many boys in that class. My mom wouldn't let me. Ready? Nice.
Nice.